dialogue to bring about a just and lasting policy is informed by the premise that multilateralism and respect for international law are key to achieving global political and economic stability. We therefore continue to uphold the enduring principles of the United Nations Charter and international law. The stalemate in Western Sahara continues, with Morocco's inflexible policies not abating despite the appointment of a new personal envoy of the United Nations Secretary General in September 2021. Terrorism is spreading on the continent, and there is a correlation between the situation in Libya and the growing threat from terrorist activities in the Sahel region. In the Middle East, the occupation of Palestine territories by Israel and its ongoing expansion of settlements and policies despite the United Nations Security Council resolutions condemning expansionist activities continues to fuel conflict. Israel continues to violate international law, the provisions of the UN Charter, and international humanitarian law. We continue to stand with the Cuban people as they stood with us in the struggle against apartheid and as they continue to provide support for our development. We reiterate our gratitude to the people and the government of Cuba for providing South Africa with medical personnel and at the height of COVID-19 pandemic. And we call for the end of the isolation of Cuba and for the lifting of the embargo and other restrictions directed at that country. In many of our international interactions, we have drawn attention to the difficulties that Zimbabwe is experiencing as a result of the sanctions imposed by various countries on Zimbabwe. We reiterate our call on the international community to lift sanctions against Zimbabwe as called for by SADC and the African Union. And South Africa continues to play an important role in the international arena. We have used our membership of BRICS, the G20, and the non-aligned movement to advance the interests of the African continent and the global South. We remain active in SADC and organs of the African Union. We continue to contribute to peace efforts in Mozambique and the DRC as well. Recently, our country played an important role in facilitating peace in the war in Ethiopia. Our former Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka played a key role alongside other former presidents of some various countries on the continent. And we applaud her for that role. Recent events, such as the Russia-Ukraine conflict, have in many ways exposed the inability of the UN Security Council to fulfill its mandate of maintaining international peace and security. The current configuration of the United Nations Security Council is simply outdated, and it's also unrepresentative, and it disadvantages developing economy countries. Currently, there's a summit that is taking place in the United States between various African countries and the United States. It was pleasing to hear an articulation in that summit supporting the call that we have always made, that Africa needs to be represented on the United Nations Security Council. The message is beginning to sink. In line with our conference resolutions, South Africa continues to advocate for the reforms that will address this issue. The 54th conference gave us a clear mandate to unite and to renew the African National Congress. In the last 5 years, we did much to pursue a strategy of unity, rejuvenation, and renewal. We reaffirm our conviction that the strength, unity, and coherence of the ANC is necessary for the advancement of the interests of the people of South Africa and for building a national democratic society. We therefore do not pursue this process of renewal of the ANC for its own sake. We pursue it because of its importance to the fulfillment of the ANC's historical mission. Throughout its long history, the ANC has pursued the achievement of unity with its own ranks and across society. We have been clear that unity must be based on principle and the observance of the revolutionary values of our movement. Our experience of recent years is that disunity does not arise from ideological, political, or strategic differences amongst us, but it arises from a contest over positions in the state and resources that are attached to them. That is what causes disunity amongst us. We need to acknowledge that despite our efforts over the last 5 years, we are not as united, we are not as cohesive or effective as we should be. Now, our disunity continues at the expense of the support that we should get from the people of South Africa. Because when our people see us disunited, they walk away from us. They only gravitate towards the ANC when they see that its leadership is united, its membership is united and cohesive, its leadership is not at each other's throats, its leadership does not continue to attack each other on public platforms. Now, some of the divisions that existed before the 54th National Conference continue within the organization. They also continue within the leadership core of the ANC. Members of the ANC often tell me that, President, we as members are united. It is you, the leaders of the ANC, who are divided. But they also tell me that, President, it is you, the leadership, who cause divisions amongst us as members of the ANC. Now, as we anticipated, the actions we were mandated to take against corruption and state capture have at times caused friction amongst us. So the process of renewal of the ANC, comrades, was given a really good boost when by the NEC to set up a renewal commission, which will present its report during this conference. The ANC has never fought the struggle for liberation alone. It has at all material times sought to draw together those formations that align with its objectives and are committed to the pursuit of the NDR. We have long been grappling with the form of the alliance that it should take in the democratic era. Now, after the experience of nearly 3 decades of democracy, we have agreed on the need for the alliance to be reconfigured to ensure that it remains relevant and effective in pursuing the national democratic revolution under present conditions as well as into the future. This 55th conference must provide guidance on the reconfiguration of the alliance so that we may conclude this discussion. The renewal of the ANC itself will be incomplete without the renewal of our entire movement, including how we deal with the issue of the reconfiguration of the alliance, the core of the movement. Now, in doing so, comrades, we also maybe at this conference need to have the difficult conversation of how some of the discussions are happening in some of our alliance partners. In the SACP, for instance, there is a debate going on whether the SACP should on its own run for elections under its own ticket and compete with the African National Congress. So we must engage in that discussion. But I want us to engage in that type of discussion calmly and in a way that is driven by the politics of our movement and of the NDR. The matter of the reconfiguration of the alliance should be seen as leading to improving the alliance relations at national, provincial, regional, and local level. It is true that our alliance partners feel that at times they are not properly included, properly recognized in terms of their role when we as the ANC take a number of decisions. We need to come to grips with that and see how best the alliance continues to be solidified as we move forward. It can also be said that at the heart of this process of improving relations in the alliance lies the imperative to strengthen the alliance and build its capacity to achieve its historical mission to drive and complete our shared strategy, the national democratic revolution. As the ANC, we must recognize that there have been weaknesses. There have also been lapses and shortcomings in how we have managed this relationship and how we approached our common tasks and responsibilities. In recent times, we have observed tensions in the alliance. Some of these tensions arise from our inability to engage effectively and regularly on key issues, whilst others arise from the broader challenge of an ANC government that is, in effect, in an employer-employee relationship with a significant portion of COSATU members, where on one side we are an alliance partner, and on the one side the ANC-led government is an employer. Then the tensions from the one relationship then infect or affect the relations on the other side. This is a complexity that we must understand and resolve. The ANC recognizes the leadership role of the working class in social transformation and stands ready to work with COSATU and the party and all progressive formations to build working class unity. One of the tasks arising from the 54th National Conference was to rebuild the ANC's electoral support after a gradual decline over the course of more than a decade. According to our analysis of past trends, we managed to halt the decline in 2019 national and provincial elections. This was thanks to the hard work, effective campaigning, and a positive response to actions arising from the National Conference. Now, the 2021 local government elections were, however, a significant setback for the movement and the National Democratic Revolution. For the first time in history, in our democracy, our share of the national vote dropped below 50%. Another grave concern is a substantial decline in the proportion of young people who have registered to vote. In the 2019 elections, 41% of people aged 18 and 19 were registered. By 2021, that number had dropped and fallen to 9%. And unless this trend is reversed, fewer and fewer adults will be registered to vote, and the strength of our democracy will steadily decline. One of the tasks we have identified in successive January 8 statements is to build social compacts, and this is something that we continue to pursue because it is important that these compacts must be built. We need to address this issue even as we are building a number of compacts on a sectoral basis as we move ahead. We need to strengthen our branches, and our branches need to lead campaigns that make the lives of our people better. The Letsema campaign has become the flagship campaign in the African National Congress, and we must utilize it leading up to the 2024 elections. Our branches must put this campaign to good use, as it has proven that it has great capacity to reconnect our people with the ANC. Communities must see an ANC that is in touch with them, an ANC that is involved in the issues that affect them. The ANC needs to draw in people whose talents, expertise, and energy can support our objectives and programs. At times, there is a tendency to lock people out, to say certain people with certain skills need to be kept out of the ANC. As we move forward, we must bring everyone in. In other words, masibute zonke, all the people who can contribute. We need also to move forward, comrades, to make our branches stronger and stronger as we bring all these skills within the ANC. Now, this is a solitary moment for the ANC. Unless we act now with courage and honesty to redeem our organization, we will have betrayed the ANC's historical mission and failed our people. In a decade from now, the ANC will celebrate 120 years of existence. By that time, in 2032, our ambition for the country would be to have realized the goals that are set out in the National Development Plan. The Renewal Commission will be presenting a report to this conference, as I said, a report that will give us a draft vision 2032 and also a roadmap for our consideration. The 55th conference should envisage what the ANC of the future will be and should outline the actions that we need to take to make that future a reality. We must envisage and work towards an ANC that incorporates the best traditions, the best values and practices of our past while responding to the challenges of the circumstances of the present. We must be a movement that embraces the pioneering vision of our founders and the fighting spirit of the young lions of successive generations. We must be an organization that distinguishes itself by the quality, capability, and political consciousness of its cadres. The ANC must draw into its leadership ranks the best in our society, the most committed patriots who seek to serve the people without any expectation of reward. A member of the ANC must distinguish themselves by their humility, by their modesty, by their discipline, whether they are in meetings or outside of meetings. They must also distinguish themselves by their purpose, by their hard work, by their fortitude, and the confidence that they exude about being an ANC member, by their self-belief and selflessness, and by their activism in the community and their concern and love for the people and their welfare. That is what an ANC member should be. The leadership needs to reflect, and its membership, by the way, the diversity of South African society, ensuring the equal participation of women throughout its structures, as I said, and the bias towards the working class is a must. The ANC also needs to be a youthful organization that is in touch with the needs and aspirations of the new generation. But that youthfulness must serve as an attraction for young people outside the organization. We must be attractive to young people. We must be an organization that draws on the experience, wisdom, and energies of all generations of activists. Above all, the ANC must be the most effective instrument in the hands of our people. These are the hopes that we all share. But to get there, we must be prepared to work hard. We must ensure that our movement always remains the pillar that our people can lean on in difficult times. South Africa, like many other countries, has entered a period where strategic opportunities, risks, and challenges are concurrent, and uncertainties and unforeseen factors will continue to arise. Various occurrences and events may occur at any time. We must therefore be mindful of potential dangers. We must be prepared to deal with the worst-case scenarios and be ready to deal with various calamities, be they pandemics, be they economic recessions, be they security matters, or even dangerous weather occurrences. Now, on the journey ahead, we must firmly adhere to the principles that have stood us in good stead in the past, which are the unity and resilience of the people of South Africa, the unity and cohesion of our movement, and the adherence to our people-centered development path, particularly in dealing with poverty, inequality, and unemployment. We must have a strong sense of purpose and fortitude, and we must have a strong sense in our movement and our people We must meet obstacles and difficulties head-on and focus on addressing the triple challenges that we face. We must be able, comrades, to harness the indomitable fighting spirit of our forebears, like Albert Luthuli, Sefako Makgato, Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Govan Mbeki, Helen Joseph, Chris Hani, Albertina Sisulu, Lillian Ngoyi, Charlotte Maxeke, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Joe Slovo, Ahmed Kathrada, to address the difficulties and challenges on the road ahead so that we are able to open new horizons for the development of our people. And in all this, comrades, we dare not fail. We dare not also fail those who have come before us. So at this 55th conference, let us exercise discipline, let us exercise political consciousness, let us demonstrate that indeed we are worthy of being delegates of our people at this conference by sitting here and debating issues. Instead of shouting at each other, instead of howling at each other, let us be the members of the ANC. Amandla! Amandla! Ngiyabonga.
Amanda, kanibambe comrades, kanibambe comrades, kanibambe comrades, kanibambe comrades, kanibambe comrades, Swaren Yualo, Namelani. There are too few things that should happen. Anybody who picked up a missing cell phone of somebody, please bring it forward. That is a cell phone of and so. Number two, on the extreme left, there is a clinic there. If you feel feverish, little pain, please use it. Ngola uzayikhumbula kazokhohlela. We are going to attend the meeting. I will tell you why. When we attend, we are all requested to have dinner here because that is where it is prepared, not in the hotels. So you are reminded that why should we attend now is because the next session is going to be a closed session. It includes adoption of credentials. Now, if there are few comrades who are still being registered in the registration center, we will be depriving them of the right to be delegates if we continue without them. Okay, comrades, as the dealer get credentials, we must all be here. That's why we cannot just continue, even if we think that delegates present in the conference do form a quorum. We're not going to follow that. Every delegate must have the opportunity to be here in the next session. Lastly, the announcement, I-leadership yase-KZN ithi i-delegates zase-KZN zisale bafuna ukukhuluma nazo. Yeah. Ningashawuta mna ke ngoba ndiyi-messenger ndithunyiwe. Shawutani apha kum. These are one more job. So what we are going to do now, we are adjourning. We'll come together tomorrow at 9. At 9 tomorrow we're here, and it is a closed session. Mamelani, I don't know who you are showing. This is your phone. I've got the phone. I've got the charger. I've got the key of a car. If it's yours, please come to me. Thank you. Tomorrow at 9 we meet here. The meeting is now adjourned.